How about bringing back the big man, LaMarcus Aldridge, to be a Spurs player development coach?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hope everybody's having a great week. Well, start of the week. We'll get you through that work week right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, what are we talking about today? We'll be looking at LaMarcus Aldridge. Could he possibly come back and be a Spurs player development coach to work with Wemby? We're talking about the pros and cons of that. And point guard by committee? We're going to be talking more about that. Kind of an extension of our last episode with James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star. Listen every day. Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. Follow me on Twitter at JeffGSpursZone. You'll get daily content from me and right here on the Locked On NBA Network. Yes, Locked On Spurs is part of the Locked On NBA Network. So, everybody wants a piece of Wembyama, huh? Look at LaMarcus Aldridge entertaining the thought of coming out of retirement to be a coach and to help Wemby. Yeah, everybody wants to be a part of the Wemby train. You even have national TV announcers coming to San Antonio to cover a preseason game. When was the last time you heard that? It's been quite a while, hasn't it? That's the Wemby effect. Everyone's going to want a piece of him. Are you ready? I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I am ready for what's coming. You can feel the storm coming. You got scrimmage coming up. You've got preseason games. You've got the tip-off of the regular season. In this next month and a half, we're going to get to experience what Cleveland went through with LeBron, what Giannis is going through, what Milwaukee went through with Giannis, him coming and then becoming that player that he is now. Luka, how they're handling a megastar like that. These are one in a lifetime type of players, and then just the ripple effect that he'll have. You're probably going to get a lot of Wemby next season, and you're probably going to get to a point during the season like, okay, enough. We're going to be swimming in everything Wembyama, and it'll be fun. It's going to be a fun ride. So just brace yourself. Again, you got to ask yourself, are you ready for all this? Are you ready for everything that's coming, the criticism that's coming? He's going to be criticized if he has a string of bad games. He's going to be criticized if he gets dropped. Somebody crosses him over and they drop him. Somebody dunks on him. And on the good, too, if he just detonates on the team and is that potentially next level player that the Spurs and the NBA are hoping he'll become. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to just have to take it day by day, one day at a time. That's the best you can do, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Just look around the city in San Antonio. Just look around the globe right now. It's all Wemby. The sneakers dropped. That went crazy. He has an instructional video on how to play basketball via Nike. That went viral. Any little thing he'll do will probably be viral. He colored his hair blonde and purple. That went viral. See where we're going with here? It's a whole other level of experience, and that San Antonio is going to soak into all that, and it's you as well as a fan. Hey, but let's talk about another what could possibly be. That is LaMarcus Aldridge. In case you didn't know, LMA was asked via a fan on X if he would entertain the thought of coming out of retirement to coach and help the Spurs and develop Wemby. And in one word, he said, yup. We're going to react to that and if the Spurs should do it or not do it with our guest. He is Joe Garcia.
There I am. I'm here.
There Thanks, he is. What's going on, Joe?
Nothing, man. Thanks for having me on the show. We like always, it wouldn't be an episode of Locked On Spurs if Jeff Garcia wasn't battling through some type of technical issues. So if we only had video of what happens before we do the show, it's always funny, man.
Those will be the outtakes. Remember one day I'll release the outtakes of me just like, what does this button do? Yeah, what does this button do, Flames?
Yeah.
What does this button do? Joe's Wi-Fi internet goes out even though I'm nowhere near him.
Yeah.
What does this button do? Joe falls out of his seat. That's how crazy it is. But he is Two Shots Podcast main guy, Joe Garcia. Follow him on Twitter at Two Shots Podcast. He has a very popular YouTube show as well, the Alamo City Sports Podcast. Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, the Alamo City Sportscast. We were doing it Monday through Friday, but we're going to dial back a little bit. I'm going to do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we have Michael Jimenez, who's going to be joining us on Mondays and Fridays. And Wednesdays, we're going to have rotating guests. And one of the familiar faces is Jeff Garcia of the Locked On Spurs podcast.
Yep. And guess what? No technical issues when I'm on Joe's show because Joe's in charge of it, and he's not cursed. He's not cursed like me. He is not cursed.
I don't know, man. You just have the knack for just getting near something electronic, and it just like, Jeff is here. Let's mess up.
It goes kaput, man.
Yep.
It does. It really does. Joe, let's talk about the first topic here, and that is LaMarcus Aldridge. Yes, the former Spur is well into retirement, and he spoke with the YouTube show, I believe it was called Oddball, and they asked him, have you ever considered coaching? And he said no, because he remembers how difficult he was with Popovich and always fighting with him to get playing time in blowout games. So he all but put the nail on the coffin, Joe, about coming back to out of retirement to coach. However, a fan said, hey, what about coming back to San Antonio and helping Wemby? And he said he would. He said, yep, on X. Joe, let's start off with the pros. What I mean, you think it was a no-brainer, right? You bring LMA back if he does want to help Coach Wemby up?
Yeah, you definitely want to bring him back. I mean, when he was here with San Antonio, he played the center power forward position. I think Wembanyama now, the Spurs are more than likely going to go ahead and play him at power forward. So I think bringing LaMarcus Aldridge back in, if he wants to come and help train Wemby, and pass on the knowledge at the power forward position, I think it's going to be instrumental to the young man's growth here, passing on instrumental knowledge that you have a former NBA player and an NBA veteran, and LaMarcus Aldridge, who is a multiple NBA All-Star. I mean, he was an All-Star here when he was with San Antonio at the end of his career. It's only going to make the young man even better as far as Victor Wembanyama's game goes. And, LaMarcus Aldridge always did something that I thought was very interesting as well. He was always criticized for not, going down and banging bodies down in the paint. He's the biggest guy. But you know what? By him actually saving his body, he had a long NBA career, So I think those are things that he can pass on to Wembanyama. Not only that, but LaMarcus, again, criticized when he was here for not banging bodies again. But what he did very well is he went ahead and had a really good mid-range game. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that he can help Wembanyama develop even further. It's like, yes, you can go ahead and shoot a three, but also, if as long as he is, there is nobody that can stop him. If he goes ahead and gets down a patented fadeaway jumper, who's going to get him? Nobody. So I think LaMarcus can help him develop different aspects of his game to give him a long, NBA career, and also help the young man, especially in his first year as a rookie.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the pros are definitely outweigh the cons. Now, we'll get into the cons in a while, but I think the pros is the mid-range game. If he can teach Wemby that mid-range game, forget about it. Wemby could be just unstoppable at this point. Also, too, I like adaptability. LaMarcus Aldridge adapted to the game when he was in San Antonio. Remember, Joe, when he said, I'm going to start shooting threes, and he adapted that part of his game. He started trying to take threes and attempt threes. So helping Wemby adapt to the game, to the NBA level that it is, I think that's valuable too. And then, of course, how to deal with Popovich. Aldridge all but admitted that he butted heads. Hell, he wanted out, Joe, remember? He wanted out of San Antonio. He didn't feel like he was going to fit. But they came to an agreement to stick it out. And now, he is one of the best bigs the Spurs have ever had. So you look at that, I think helping Wemby having to deal with Popovich and his ways and his reasons and benching and all this stuff, it probably helped ease the frustration that Wemby might experience having to be coached by Popovich. LaMarcus Aldridge does say now, he admits that, maybe he should have been barking back at Pop, because now he understands why Pop did what he did. So if he can impart that knowledge to Wemby, I'm all for it. We know what he can do skill set wise, Joe, but I think off the court adaptability, learning to deal with Pop, and then of course being a big in the NBA, I think that's huge. But Joe, we have to talk about the cons up next. So when we get back, we're going to talk about why the Spurs shouldn't bring back LaMarcus Aldridge right here with Joe Garcia of Two Shots Podcast. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get 200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more, including futures. NBA season right around the corner. Your Spurs around the corner. Go see what those player props could be. What are those futures? Can the Spurs get that win total that Vegas thinks? What about the play-in tournament? Go check it out using the FanDuel app. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Joe Garcia. He is like the anti-tech Jeff. So you know how like there's Bizarro Superman and then there's Superman. So in the tech world, I'm Bizarro. Joe is Superman when it comes to tech. Joe can be like blah 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 blah, blah this is this that. I mean, I don't know Joe. I don't know what you're talking about. Just talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old. And then every time I go to Joe with tech issues, this is how I am. Me don't understand. What is computer? So it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But we thank Joe Garcia for stopping by on this episode of Locked On Spurs. We are talking about LaMarcus Aldridge and why the Spurs should and should not bring him back. Now, we kind of hit the why they should bring him back, Joe. But you are the guest. You go first. Why do you think the Spurs should not bring him back? If he, does entertain the Spurs are entertaining the thought of bringing him back.
Why they shouldn't bring him back, I don't really see a negative. I'm going to be honest with you, and bringing LaMarcus. Yeah. It's like Tim Duncan, for example. You bring Tim Duncan's like, hey, I just want to show up to, Spurs practice facility and shoot a couple balls with the guys, and talk with them. Who's going to tell him no? I think exactly. It could be said with LaMarcus Aldridge. You got an NBA great and LaMarcus Aldridge should come in and, hey, I want to just get in the gym and, go ahead and just shoot the ball a little bit with Wemby. Sure. They're not going to tell him not to. The only thing is, if you bring him back in and you have him, working with Wemby, the only negative could be is like you can't have him favor just that one player. I think it's going to be beneficial if he comes back and he actually spreads the love with the other players at that position as well, who are going to be playing not only center but power forward, and kind of take them under your wing and impart that knowledge to everybody. The only negative I can see is you don't want him just to be Wemby's guy. You're going to have him there, and you're going to have him be a coach and, kind of train everybody. It has to be everybody, spread that love all over the place.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, like what could be a con? Not necessarily a con. It's, again, nothing against LMA, but I think a reason why not to bring him is because you already have the GOAT big man, Tim Duncan. Try to Timmy did it one time. Maybe it was a favor for Pop to be an assistant coach throughout an entire season. And if Manu can be on the payroll right now of a player development coach, I would hope the Spurs would extend Tim Duncan an offer to get back on the payroll and to be that player coach for Wemby and the rest of the bigs, your Barlow, your Zach Collins. I mean, sure, why not? But I think that's a con. I say cons maybe is a strong word, maybe just more like redundant because you already got Tim Duncan that still stops by. You mentioned it right now. Tim Duncan, comes by and just hoops up with the guys. But I see that as a loose con. Why not to bring LMA back? Also, too, maybe LMA was known for his mid-range game, which is phenomenal, which is good. He had a back to the basket game, but perhaps the skill set is already there with Wemby. Maybe we don't know his mid-range game yet. We saw glimpses of it, and that's great, but can't say that Timmy can't teach him that. I mean, I would rather have Timmy teach Wemby the bank shot versus LMA's mid-range shot. They both were effective, but Timmy's was just a little bit better. So those are the only cons I can think of. I really cannot think of another negative. I mean, I know there were some fans that said, oh, he had a bad attitude and in San Antonio, and oh, look, proof is in the pudding. He butted heads with Pop, but he's older now. He understands why he messed up. He understands, maybe he should not have barked back at Popovich. But yeah, I can't think of any other cons, Joe. Can you?
Can't really think of any other cons. Like I said, man, if he comes into the gym, it's like, hey, I just want to shoot the ball with the guys. Then you're gonna tell him no. Sure. You want a day pass? Or you want
No, yeah, Pop's
you
gonna
want to
be
be put
like,
on the
"Come
payroll?
on in." Yeah, yeah,
You
and
know?
it's not surprising, to see former Spurs get into coaching with San Antonio. Ime did it. Tim
Yeah.
did it for 1 year. Manu's currently doing it. Monty Williams did it. Um, Becky Hammond technically, yes. I mean, sure, she was the San Antonio Stars, but still part of the San Antonio franchise. She came on board with Pop. So it's not uncommon for former Spurs to join the coaching ranks. So we'll see one day. I know there's some Spurs fans, Joe, that still believe that Manu is going to be the next coach. I don't think so. What about you?
I think that's a pipe dream, man. I think Manu right now, he's just enjoying
I
retirement,
think
man,
so
as he
too.
should. I mean, he's
Yeah,
deserved the right to just enjoy retirement and, you know, and enjoy bike riding and traveling the world and
yeah,
whatnot. If he ever
exactly.
does want to
Oh,
come back at some time and be a coach, I'm sure they'll entertain that. But I mean, I think right
oh,
now
for sure.
it's just not the time for him. Him
Yeah.
personally, he might want to, but I think he's enjoying spending time with the family right now.
Yeah, so if we put this on a scale, Joe, pros versus cons, it looks like there's more pros to bringing LMA back if he's serious about dipping his feet into coaching, and if the Spurs do extend him that
Yeah.
offer to join the Spurs ranks. But hey, we want to hear from you. What do you think? Should the Spurs entertain the thought of bringing back LMA as a player development coach specifically for Wemby? Let us know on Twitter. Joe is at Two Shots Podcast. I am at Jeff G Spurs. Joe, I keep on saying Twitter. It's X. I can't get it out of my head. It's
It's the
X.
Twitters. It's the
So you can find us
Twitters,
on
man.
X.
They'll call it Twitter.
Just call it the Twitter. Okay. It's like Prince. Remember when Prince changed his name to a symbol? That was it. It
Oh,
was just a logo. It's the same
yeah.
thing here. It went from Twitter to X. But you can
Well,
find
you
us
know
on
what, Jeff?
X.
I said
What's up?
that you weren't cursed. Right now,
Yeah.
my little clip that I have on the back of my phone stand, it just
Yeah.
broke. So
Oh my God.
I'm not saying you're cursed, but I'm blaming this one on Jeff Garcia.
When we get back from the break, you're probably going to see flames behind me right now.
Yeah.
So get ready for that, everybody. When we get back, we're going to talk to Joe about point guard by committee. We talked about this in the last episode of Locked On Spurs last week, Friday. We're going to continue it right here on Locked On Spurs. But Joe, have you been to Musslingers lately?
I have not been to Mudslingers lately, man. It's on the other side of town for me, over there by Stone Oak. So if
Yeah.
I'm ever over in that Stone Oak area, of course I'm going to stop by and especially indulge in the little mini donuts they have. They're to die
Oh,
for.
yeah, the mini donuts. Yes. Well, if you need a delicious coffee, you need a pick me up, you want to go to Musslingers Drive Through Coffee. Joe, he goes there. I go there. When I'm in San Antonio, everybody goes there to get their daily coffee. It is a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs and the first one ever to do it. So I definitely thank them for becoming that history moment for Locked On Spurs. But they got a friendly staff, a good menu. They got everything you need. Joe, the OG, you know you love it, right?
I do. I love that the OG, man. That's the Orange Julius from back in the day.
Oh, yes. Orange Julius is recreated only at Musslingers Drive Through Coffee. They also have the Alien. Joe, can you handle the Alien? It's a full can roll with apple and kiwi. You sure you can handle that?
I don't know if I can, man. I might have tum issues, especially if it's like an energy drink or something like that.
Well, I'm pretty sure Joe will like it, though, if he does try it. I know
Yeah.
I'd like it. Whenever I'm in San Antonio, I definitely get myself the Alien. And also, you want to get part of the Red Bull Infused Lightning series. Is basically just Red Bull, their energy drinks to get you going through the day. You can add flavors to it. I like strawberry. You should try the strawberry edition as well. They also have the Sub-Zero in honor of Frank Harris, UTSA's very own. It's only at Mudslingers Drive-Through Coffee. They're open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can find them on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads. The list goes on and on. You can find them even on Joe's network. They are a proud sponsor of Joe's network as well. He'll talk about that later. Also, don't forget, 300 5-star reviews cannot be wrong. They are at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. If you're in San Antonio, once again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's 211604 area. You want to go there right now. Get yourself the OG. Get yourself those dairy alternatives. Get yourself, those donuts. Joe hoards them up, San Antonio. If you go there and they run out, it's because Joe bought them all. Good
No,
job,
it's
Joe.
because I'm sharing with
Always.
Jeff. I brought Jeff a little cup
That's
as
true.
well.
That's
Because
right.
hey,
That's right.
remember, let's go ahead and full disclosure here. Jeff will eat the whole little cup, man, because he ate a whole sleeve of crackers during COVID. I remember
I
that.
will. I ate a whole sleeve of freaking crackers one time during COVID, and I'll probably do the same thing with those mini donuts. But again, they are located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Go to Musslinger's Drive-Through Coffee right now, San Antonio. Life is too short for bland coffee. All right, Joe is still here. Let's go to continue our chat about the silver and black. And Joe, I want to talk to you about something that we talked about in the last episode of Locked On Spurs, and that is the point guard spot. There's the Spurs waived a campaign, which I was a little surprised about. But as of right now, it's Trey Jones, Blake Wesley, technically Sohan, because he ran a point last year, maybe Malachi, and then Julian Champagne. But we start toying with this idea, and I get your thoughts on this, Joe. Do you think the point guard spot right now should be just all but Trey Jones's? Like that's he's the starting point guard. He is our go-to guy for the Spurs, or it should be a point guard by committee, considering this team just simply wants to run and gun, and whoever has the ball, just go.
I'm still on the, even though Trey Jones to me, is like he's not the top tier point guard, but he's good at his position. He's the best that we have, I guess, on this team currently. So I don't think he should be the point guard by committee. I think he should be the point guard to go ahead and run this offense. He's very seasoned. I think he does a decent enough job. And I really think that, at this juncture, who else do you got? I mean, you're looking at the Spurs depth chart. The only backup point guard that they have currently, true point guard, would be Devontae Graham. If you're looking at like small forward position, you still have Keldon Dougie, C.D. Usman, Julian Champagne. I mean, you could go ahead and I guess if you needed to in a pinch, go ahead and have Jeremy Sohan come out and run point, as well, because they've already kind of had to do that on occasion when they have injuries or somebody sitting out. But I mean, you don't really have a lot of point guards at that position, true points. You got people that can go in and maybe fill the job, but beyond Trey and beyond Devontae, I mean, there's really nobody out there. But yeah, man, just go ahead and let Trey do his thing and run the team is my mentality.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to see how it starts off this season with Trey as a starter. And I think that's something the Spurs will do. They invested in him. They gave him a pay grade upgrade. They gave him that extension. Statistically, Joe, you can't knock him. He does a damn good job at the point guard spot. You cannot knock him. The only thing you can knock him is the outside shot. But then again, everything else definitely thumbs up Trey, from points to assists to minimal turnovers to running the show, getting guys on offense, playing defense. He does it all except for that shot. But I think that's what's going to happen. I think they'll start off with the traditional lineup, Joe, of here's Trey Jones, our point guard, and here's everybody else, a lot of their spots. But I got a feeling as the season goes on, Joe, it's going to evolve into just whoever has the ball, just go. What do you think, Joe?
It might, at some point, but I still think, at the end of the day, Coach Pop is going to go ahead and run things the way Coach Pop wants. And Coach Pop, he wants some structure. Well, he'll go ahead and be liberal with the guys out there. If there's an opportunity where you're in the open court, of course, run the ball. That's going to be their strong suit with young legs. A lot of young players that they have on the team, they want to get out there and they want to run and beat the opposing team's defense. Yeah, of course he's going to want him to run. But at the end of the day, he knows that being methodical in his approach is probably going to be the best way that the Spurs are going to have a winning season versus just kind of that running, gunning and running style kind of thing, So I think in the beginning, Coach Pop will let them go out there and see what they got, kick the tires, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens,
Yeah, and that's why I was surprised that they waived campaign. I really thought he was going to stick around for a while, at least to the trade deadline at best. But that's just a sign to me that either A, they truly believe in Trey Jones and his abilities, as well as maybe a guy like Blake Wesley, because I don't think Blake Wesley's ready quite there yet. Not there. He's close. He's getting there. I can foresee him perhaps playing in Austin next season for a while. Kind of like, not heavy minutes in Austin, but kind of a sprinkle throughout. Because unless they go chasing another free agent for that spot, they're a little thin right now. That's why it makes me think that perhaps the Spurs are just going to be point guard by committee, because they let Sohan run it last season, the PG spot. For a while, they were telling Keldon to learn to facilitate when he was in Austin before he, made his way to San Antonio permanently. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe Malachi Branham, they may force him to do that. Devontae Graham, you mentioned. So something tells me this might be point guard by committee as the season goes on. But you're right. And if it does, Joe, and this is something, a point that our last guest brought up, James Pledger, okay, so maybe Trey Jones isn't the starter, but still, that's a potent weapon coming off the bench, Joe, huh?
It would be a potent weapon coming off the bench, but more than likely, you're going to have another, let's say, starter coming off the bench this upcoming season as well, which would probably be Keldon Johnson. If in fact they go ahead and they do start Keldon off the bench with that second unit, if you have Trey Jones running the point, that'd be a really good combination, a good 1-2 punch, and then you go and throw in Dougie McBuckets as well. Maybe you kind of switch up his position. You got a prolific 3-point shooter that can go ahead and make great backdoor cuts, and run the half court offense really well when it comes to, giving him the ball and letting him do his thing. Dougie's great, man. So I think Dougie, Keldon, and Trey on the floor at the same time, that'd be really interesting, man. I think that second unit, if you run that second unit, you really got something there. You can either sustain leads or make things very interesting if you're falling behind.
Absolutely. Hey, he is Joe Garcia. I am Jeff Garcia. We want to hear from you. What do you think about point guard by committee? Do you think that's the approach the Spurs should take, or they should just stick to the traditional one, just letting Trey Jones be the guy to run the offense each and every game next season? Also, what do you think about LMA? Should the Spurs bring him back? What are your pros? What are your cons? You can let me know on Twitter at Jeff G Spurzone. You can let Joe know on Twitter at 2 Shots Podcast. Joe, tell us what's cooking with 2 Shots and Alamo City.
Yeah, 2 Shots. We're going to probably be recording an episode and releasing it next Thursday. We got a new episode of the Fantasy Gods that we're going to be releasing on Tuesdays, because now the Alamo City Sportscast is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We got to fill those 2 days with something. So we're going to have lots of 2 Shots, Fantasy Gods, Extra Point, and of course you're going to have Mike Jimenez getting roasted by the fans here in San Antonio because he can't show his face at the UTSA games now. He went ahead and went at the team again. So do come at Mike on Monday when he's on the show. That way you can give him all your hate, and also make sure you bring us all the great memes. There's been some great ones, Jeff, and me and you have been rolling, man. These guys are quick with it, man. They're quick with it.
Jimenez called me the day he was going to the most recent UTSA game.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Why is everybody roasting me?" I go, "It's like you went there one game and you blasted UTSA fans. Now you're going back into the lion's den." Yeah, it's gonna happen, Jimenez. You're doing this to yourself. You're doing this to yourself, buddy. Yeah. But for example, yeah, exactly. That's another why you should check out 2 Shots Podcast and Alamo City Sports Show on YouTube. It's a fun show. Now it's going down to 3 a week. I think that's perfect. You get beginning of the week, you get the middle of the week, and you get the end of the week. It is a good setup. And again, let Joe know your thoughts at 2 Shots Podcast. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. YouTube. Oh my goodness, where else? I could just go down the list here. Spotify, iTunes, the Kens 5 Plus app. You can find Locked On Spurs everywhere. And it looks like we're probably going back to 5 a day starting this week. I just got to double check something, but I think it's starting this week. If not, very, very soon. So, Joe, another sign the NBA/Spurs season is right around the corner. But for Joe Garcia, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.